Alexandre Farm is disrupting the dairy industry, producing a milk that's easy to digest. That's right, no more tummy aches or no upset bowels after you drink milk when you try Alexandre Family Farms dairy products. How, you ask? Well, there's two things that they're doing. One is they're certified organic, practicing regenerative organic practices. They really focus on building healthy soil, raising healthy cows, and nourishing healthy people. And secondly, they produce A2 milk, actually A2A2 milk. What does that mean exactly? Well, A2 is a specific protein that the human body can digest and break down much more easily than the regular A1 protein that is found in most dairy milk that we drink. Fascinating, right? Vanessa Nunes is a fifth-generation farmer. She is one of 5 children who works very closely within the family farm. In this conversation, we talk about why Alexandre dairy products are so special. We explore the ways in which they make their soil healthy and build their organic matter. And we also talk about launching a new product when you're on a farm, what that looks like, and what steps are that we have to take to do that. This conversation is rich, and we cover a lot of ground in it. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ding that bell, and share this video with your friends so that we can amplify global health and global regeneration through soil health, human health, and plant health. I'm Natalie Forsbauer, founder and editor-in-chief of Heart and Soul magazine. If you are a regenerative farmer or gardener who wants to learn more about building soil health and more about nourishing your own personal health and well-being, head on over to heartandsoulmagazine.com, where you can get a free complimentary issue of Heart and Soul to check it out, or you can subscribe for just $39.99 a year to get all sorts of information about regenerative farming and gardening and living. You make yourself an amazing day and enjoy this conversation with Vanessa Nunes. Vanessa, tell us your role with Alexandre Farm.
Yeah, my role. So first of all, I'm the middle of the 5 kids. My two older brothers also work on the farm. The 3 oldest kids are full-time employed by the dairy farm. My role up here in Del Norte County is the dairy manager. So I work alongside my dad. He's really my boss there for expertise and knowledge within the dairy farm, and my mom for heifer health. But I oversee the people on the 3 dairies in Del Norte County, which is our northern 3 dairy farms.
Mhm.
The people, the feed, the cows, those sort of things. Um, and certainly learning as I go, but overseeing those dairies.
That's amazing. And how many dairies do you have in total?
We have 5. 2 of them are in Humboldt County, and that's where my oldest brother Joseph lives with his wife and new baby as well. So he oversees those 2 down there, and I'm up north.
And those are all in California.
Yeah, they're all on the Northern California coast, within 100 miles of each other.
Okay.
We're just 8 miles south of Oregon, so right on the very tip of California.
Beautiful. And so you are a 5th-generation farmer, is that correct?
Yeah, 5th generation from both sides. So my mom and my dad grew up with strong dairying roots.
Neat. And so what's that like to work in a multi-generational farm?
It's exciting, all family reunions, involve some dairy talk. And it's neat because my parents both have a strong passion for it, which led for us kids to desire to come back to the farm after we graduated college. So it just means that there's deep roots, and that means deep passion.
I like the way you say that, deep roots and deep passion, because that passion can come in all sorts of different colors and levels and ways, right?
Yeah, it certainly can. And even for my 4 siblings and I, we all have a different passion for different parts of the farm, which
Mhm.
makes it neat and allows for opportunity for us all to build a life within it as well.
What
Yeah.
inspired you to stay involved with the farm?
Yeah, I think from a young age, I clearly knew I wanted to come back to our family dairy farm.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up across the street from the dairy, it was just a part of our life. And I remember being 7 or 8 years old and having my own group of little Jersey dairy calves that I got to feed in the morning and, work with them with my dad. And I just have always had this strong passion for cows and love of that. And then the life that kind of my parents were building for us. Made me want to stay involved, and also the kind of depth to the dairy farm, the vertical integration that we've built. As I was graduating college, we were discussing starting our own brand, and really wanting to be a part of that was why I came back. I remembered, thinking I could go and get an MBA, or I could, learn the school of hard knocks as we launch a brand, and really educate myself through that. And I really wanted to be a part of that.
Wow, I have goosebumps. So you're part of launching your farm brand then?
Yeah, I kind of, alongside my mom, we acted as the marketing team in the very beginning, before we hired on, true educated marketers. But um, we were the ones with opinions of what to write on the label and all those things, and taste testing all the flavor options for a chocolate milk, and
Yeah.
uh, being a part of that. There was multiple family members involved in all the opinions, but my mom and I kind of held the marketing strings there in the beginning.
So tell us, how do you start? How did you, what were the first steps? Like if I was part of a farm or a multi-generational farm, what are the first steps in launching a brand?
Well, I think that it was there were parts of time in our dairy history that led to us wanting to launch a brand. It wasn't out of pure excitement. It was out of failures on the dairy farm that made us want to take control of our market.
Mhm.
So and then we hired a team member. Well, I guess let me back up there for a sec. There were folks from Whole Foods that contacted us and said, "Hey, we really think that you should, put your milk out in the marketplace. You're doing something unique with your A2 genetics, and the current creameries that we were at weren't marketing that attribute of their milk,
Mhm.
because we were the only dairy with them. So because we had a unique dairy product, we thought that it would be worthwhile to jump into the marketplace, and that was certainly costly. And 5 years
Mhm.
later, or 5 years later in the market, we're still working on break even there, but that's a part of building a business, and investing into it. So it took a good team, and um, you know it took relying on the dairy, pulling funds from the dairy to build a brand. But it also took a lot of extra effort on our family's part, to focus on this big new project and big new venture.
So it sounds like there's a lot of grit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's statistics of all the businesses that fail in the first 5 years. And so far we just surpassed that point last month. But
Congratulations. That's huge, Vanessa. And I'm really glad that your presence, you having the idea, having the unique, having something that's unique, that there's a gap in the marketplace, and then identifying what's really important to put on the label to set yourself aside and apart from everything else and everyone else. And then that it didn't happen overnight, that you guys have been working on this for 5 years to get to where you are today. And you've had to work together as a team, all really, really powerful.
yeah,
Power.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the milk's been on the shelves for 5 years. So it was about 2 years prior to that where we really started digging in and building the project.
Wow. So 7 years. That's amazing. Tell us about the A2 milk and what's so special about it. And I love that you do the A2. And I'm curious about how common A2 is in North America, because I know in France, for example, it's quite popular and quite well known. People look for it and seek it out. So how popular is it in North America, and what exactly is it, and why should we care?
Yeah, I think that it has been less popular in North America. It only, really came to light in the last 10 years, but in the last 2 to 3 years, consumers are being made much more aware because there's a few brands in the marketplace.
Mhm.
But this is a type of protein in milk where we're just going back to the way cows were made 100 years ago, before a mutated gene hit the dairy genetic pool. So an A2 refers to the type of protein in a dairy cow. Each cow will contain either an A1 protein or A2 protein. On our bottle, we say A2 because it's simply that within each cow. A cow can only ever be, what she is, but her daughter could be a different thing because bred with an A2 bull type of thing. But the A2 protein refers to that beta casein protein in a cow. The A1 is a mutated gene. There's a 7-link amino acid chain that's mutated where a histidine should have been a proline. It doesn't digest well in the human body. So a lot of folks that are turning away from dairy are turning away for digestibility issues, gut issues. So that A1 protein may be the case. And our A2 genetics have led to 100% A2 milk, which is bringing people back to dairy because they can digest it well.
Right. And so that's a really interesting place to start with the digestibleness of milk is the A2. So I'm just curious, how did that gene mutate? Do you know?
I do not know. Yeah, I don't know how that happened. I'm not quite the scientist.
Yeah, it could have just been
But
genetics over time, right?
yeah,
And so a cow cannot produce A2 milk if they're not A2 genetically inclined to. Is that right?
yeah, it's like brown eyes, blue eyes. If she does not contain the A2 gene, then she cannot produce A2 milk.
Right. So for example, I could take a Holstein, which does not produce A2 milk, and I could feed it all grass 100% and it still wouldn't produce A2 milk, right?
That's correct. However, every dairy breed
Mhm.
contains some percentage of either A1 or A2 genetics. So
Okay.
even the Holstein breed can have A2 cows.
Ah,
We've bred thousands of cows and noticed across multiple different breeds that, there's some percentage of A1 in every breed now.
wow.
But you can just DNA test every cow to find out what she is, and then pull all the A2s together to a dairy farm and have.
And then you have A2 milk.
Correct.
That's amazing. So it's not just one breed of cattle that have A2 then.
That's correct. Yeah, all breeds do contain A2. They do contain A1 because over time there's so many new genetics and
Mhm.
new bulls in the industry and such, and so there is even the Holstein cow, which gets a lot of bad rap, has good A2 milk.
Vanessa, I love this conversation. I love this information because when I first learned about A2 milk, which was, I think, maybe 10 years ago, I tried to understand it. And the people who I was privy to have conversations with really thought it was linked to a type of cow that produced A2 milk or A2 milk. And so to have a deeper understanding that all cows can actually produce it, and it's just based on, not just, but it's based on genetics, and we can identify cows within the different breeds is really enlightening.
Yeah, it is. It is because it opens up the opportunity for a lot more A2 dairy in the marketplace.
Yeah, it does. So I'm curious, so it's easier to digest, it's more attuned to our digestive systems as humans. And I'm wondering what you said we talked a little bit about easier to digest. And what I'm wondering about is how much you think the impact of how you raise your cows also helps the digestibility of your milk, because you are also regenerative certified organic, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that that more plays into, the human ethos and
Mm,
making you feel good about the milk, the product you're eating or drinking. And so when you drink a glass of our milk, not only is it A2, so it's digestible there, but um, the regenerative organic aspect of it and what we're doing for the land and the animals and everything within that space um, makes it fun to digest because you're not only helping your body, but you're also helping the earth by drinking that.
hmm. And how far back does your farm go in being certified organic?
My parents sought organic certification in 1999,
Hmm.
and then that took a couple years to attain it.
Hmm.
For example, to transition land from conventional to organic takes 3 years. So
Hmm.
um, in the early 2000s, we were certified organic,
Hmm.
and through that, my dad fell in love with soil, and my mom with health and nutrition for humans and for the cows. And so they've really fallen in love with the organic practices and not only that, but regenerative management of land and animals through that.
Oh, I love that's powerful. So, what are some of the practices that they fell in love with that are regenerative in nature and organic in nature that have helped your farm?
Yeah, for my mom specifically, I think she was kind of forced to dig deeper into calf health because as an organic farmer, um, you have really less tools in your toolbox in the beginning until you really learn about the calf digestive system and all these homeopathics that are really good for baby calves. So it was fun to kind of have this large calf health binder kind of when I returned back from school. That was all of her wisdom of learning what to do for this or that for a calf, and my mom just kind of dug in and learned it all. So now I have that as wisdom if on the dairy farm. And for my dad, he really just dug into soil and earthworms and microbiology in the soil because focusing on soil and building soil health is such a big pillar in what we do. And going organic and moving towards regenerative really allowed us to focus on that.
Wow. So you use homeopathics with your calves, and what else do you use with your calves to help them build their health?
First, colostrum is critical for them, just like a newborn baby. Um, Getting a gallon of colostrum into a baby calf within an hour of birth, depending on the calf size, is critical. So
Mhm.
so that natural nutrition from the mother, um, but also, just being proactive in how we raise them and all that stuff.
Mm. And what are some of the maybe your favorite homeopathics or the most powerful homeopathics that you use?
Yeah, so for a newborn baby, we give her arnica. So that's really good for a newborn baby. Um, we also use euphrasia for a little bit of pink eye that could happen on the farm, stuff like that.
Well, that's really cool. Does every calf get arnica then when they're born?
Yes.
Wow. Arnica is one of my favorite homeopathics as well for myself and my kids. And so that's interesting that you use it for calves and how powerful to help them with that transition
Yeah. Yeah.
onto this lovely place that we call Earth.
That's right.
Yeah, that's cool. And so what are some of your families and your dad's favorite regenerative practices to help build the soil health on your farm?
Yeah, I certainly think just using animals on the land. So building soil health through the aspect of grazing dairy cows is what we love to do, and I think we do well. And in turn, that builds topsoil and increases organic matter, but it also increases our water holding capacity and allows us to graze a lot of animals on a lot of pastures multiple times a year, because our grass growth, our dry matter yield per acre increases through these regenerative practices of cows eating grass.
Yeah, that's really cool. Go ahead. Sorry, did I cut you off?
It's not just simply cows eating grass. It's putting the right amount of cows on the right amount of space for the right amount of time. It's a beautiful art, the art of grazing.
I love that, the art of grazing. And how do you figure that out? How do you figure out the right amount of cows for the right amount of time for the right amount of space?
Yeah, we don't use any calculators or anything like that. It's just it's simply for us just wisdom of knowing. But it's high density, short time, so they're not picking and choosing, but they're grazing all of a section within 12-hour sets, and then allowing that grass to regrow. For our climate, it's about 27 to 31 days.
Yeah, that's neat. And Vanessa, are you planting those fields that they're grazing, or is it native pasture land, or is it a combination?
Yeah, these are permanent pastures, so we're never tilling or breaking up these paddocks, or these fields. But we do what we like to call facelift every 20% of our farm every year by eating it a little bit shorter in the fall time, coming on with compost that we've aged at the dairy, and then airwaying it and reseeding, where you're just lightly poking holes into the field and then broadcast seeding species that we like to see over those fields. So we're just kind of adding life to an older pasture, but never actually tilling the soil or breaking up the microbiome that's within there.
That is golden, Vanessa. I think that piece of information alone can be life altering and farm altering for people who are looking for ways to regenerate tired pasture. And so I'm just going to repeat that. So you, how often do you do that? So is it a 10-year cycle, 5-year cycle, 7-year cycle?
Yeah, it really just depends on how much compost we have and how much seed we can afford that year, kind of thing, right? So we're just playing with the hand that we're dealt. But really, it's probably every 10 years, but there's certainly some pastures that haven't been touched for 30 years.
Wow. So I'm just going to say back what I heard. So you have that area, that particular pasture eaten down by the cows, more like right down maybe to the ground. And then you go in and you harrow that and you're poking holes in it and then broadcasting seed to give it a facelift, as you say.
Yeah. But in between the cows and the harrow, we compost, and that add the compost. That's the real organic fertility there.
Magic, of course. Yeah. I'm sorry, I forgot that. I'm glad you got that. So I'm going to say that again. So, so the cows eat the pasture, and then you broadcast it with compost, and then you harrow it, poke holes, and broadcast new seed.
Yes.
And does that seed you choose depend on what the health of that pasture is, or do you broadcast the same seeds that you like every year?
Yeah, we really broadcast similar seeds that we like each year, and that's because they're great in our climate. And between the 100 miles of our farm, there's minimal difference in pasture, what the pasture likes.
Yeah. May I ask what those seeds are that you guys like and that your land likes?
Yeah, there's some perennial ryegrass. We'd like to experiment with annual ryegrass as well. New Zealand white clover, Italian rye, some chicory and plantain, kind of those are the main 5 that we like to add within the pasture species, but there's 20 or 30 out there as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. That's really cool. What's your favorite part of working with a multi-generational farm?
I think that we grew up with the employees being a part of our family, because you're hanging with them, learning Spanish at a couple years old, and so that by the time you're 28 or 30 years old, there's some deep connection there, and just like there are with my parents and grandparents, being a part of the family of employees is really special with the generational farm.
Yeah, and what's the hardest part?
I think, just like most businesses, the ever increasing costs, and
Mhm.
it becomes harder and harder to be um, in business or a dairy farm each year. It seems, there's highs and lows, and the ability to uh, have a product in the marketplace is something that we hoped would bring stability to the farm, and so we are excited about that.
Mhm.
But just the increasing costs make it hard.
Mm. What keeps you going? What drives you to want to keep showing up every day?
Sorry, I just got emotional.
Okay, I'm with you. I feel you and I'm standing with you.
I think that j- there's a lot of families that depend upon us, not only our employees, but our consumers, and the cows and the land. And I think that's, you know, it's it's some days that may be a burden, but it's also a strong, deep uh, desire to care for all those families.
Mhm. And so that's really powerful, Vanessa, because it feels like the regeneration of the soil, the regeneration of the land, and how you care for your animals, and really is in the ethos of everything the Alexandre Farm does. It's it's the whole experience and the whole ethos of the farm and the offering of the products is generative and regenerative in nature.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, really powerful. And what do you most want people to know about Alexandre Farm? And
We're an open farm. We love, sharing with others what we do, and we love visitors. There's certainly days where we're too busy to meet who's in the yard, but we love them anyways. And we we enjoy having folks come and pet the calves, or watch a cow being born, or watch the cows in the milking parlor. Um, so if they're ever in our area, feel free to stop by. And that's what we love to share.
I love that. Best time of day to stop by?
Oh, uh, probably when it's not raining.
That's good advice. As a farmer myself,
Right.
that's really good advice. If you could tell a new farmer 3 things that they need to keep in mind s- um, in starting their new farm or in the first 5 years of farming, what would that be?
Yeah, I think regenerative agriculture is encompassing, whether you're a small little hobby gardener, or a large farm. There's just this desire to pay attention to the soil and know your data, even pull soil tests and send them to a lab and learn how you can improve your soil. Don't ever forget that on a big scale, animals are the answer. They're the best. They're the best tool, not a harvester or a machine, but the cows eating that land, sequestering carbon are a great tool. And so if you don't have any animals, seek out folks that do, and let them graze your pastures.
Mm.
Um, and seek out mentors, whether it's watching YouTube and listening to Will Harris or Gabe Brown, or calling up a farmer for advice. I think that farmers love to share with other farmers the wisdom that they have.
Yeah, that's super true. What do you do with your hayland? Do you put your cows on it after you cut your hay? Or like, how do you regenerate that?
Yeah, I think so. There's compost that you can even add if there's no animals in the area. Yeah, there's compost that you could purchase from miles away if you need to. But also never leaving it fallow is really critical, and planting a cover crop in the winter when there might not be the seed species that you're looking for in the spring and fall.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So never leaving that hay ground fallow is really important to regenerative agriculture.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's awesome. And what types of soil testing are your favorite?
Organic matter is certainly one of our favorites, and then looking at the nutritionals as well, boron and calcium and such.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Is there anything that we haven't touched on today that's on your heart that you want to share or talk about, Vanessa?
Yeah, if you're in an area and you want to try our milk, we certainly encourage you. I think that if you've been nervous to try dairy, A2 is a place to start, and not only just A2, but regenerative organic that helps the land is the answer in that space.
It is. It's really powerful. And do you have a couple more minutes for us to touch on that a bit
Yeah,
more?
yeah.
Okay, awesome. A lot of people have a hard time digesting milk, and A2 is a really good place to start. And also, regenerative organic or certified organic milk is a good place to start. So one, where can people find your product?
Yeah, there's a lot of product offerings on the West Coast in our little fat pasteurized bottles. We have a really delicious, rich and creamy chocolate milk, and heavy whipped cream and such. But we're also nationwide, and they can check on our website on our store locator where we are, but it's many natural food stores.
That's awesome. Vanessa, do you have any of your product that you can show us, that you can hold up for us?
Yeah, I can grab it in the fridge. This is
Ooh.
100% grass-fed A2 milk. This is from a single dairy farm in Humboldt County, and these cows don't get any grain. It's empty because I drink 2 of these a day. This is a 28 ounce.
That's awesome. So it's really, the milk debate is quite hilarious. My dad recently went vegan, and he jokes that it took him 73 years to figure out that milk is bad for you. And he really loved, we had our own cows, and so we had our own raw milk and made our own cheeses off and on throughout the years, and own yogurt was really quite normal and natural. And at the same time, I think it's really important to honor everybody's journey. And I love that Alexandre Farms is giving people a healthy alternative to milk, a protein that's easily digestible, and also a milk that's not full of chemicals that are wreaking havoc on our system. Those two things together is really, really powerful.
Yeah. We wanted to be a disruptor in the dairy marketplace, for that A2-ness, for the high fats, and just for all those seals that you see on the package that we're working for.
Yeah. And then the other piece about milk, what I know for sure is, and I've been in the natural health industry since I was in my 20s, born and raised on an organic farm. And what I've seen for sure is people who have not been able to drink milk for digestive issues, been able to come back to milk when they're drinking milk that is, like you said, certified organic, regenerative, grass-fed, and A2. So it's interesting to me that it's quite possible to have milk as part of our diet and to feel good and to feel nourished and to have it serve our bodies in a way that that we feel is aligned with who we are and what's important to us.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, milk that tastes good and makes you feel good, both for your body and for the planet.
Yeah, yeah. And then yeah, honoring those who choose not to drink it is also really important too. So I just love the opportunity to presence a space that honors each person's individual journey. And I'm deeply grateful that you offer us a healthy choice. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. We're happy to do it.
Yeah, awesome, Vanessa. Anything else you want to share? Like, did we touch on the important pieces for you?
Yeah, I certainly think so.
Okay, how about you, Sharon?
I know, I think we covered all the bases. Yeah.
I have other products here if you want to see those.
Yes, show us more products.
So this is our eggnog.
Oh, eggnog.
Yeah, it is. Oh man, delicious.
I can see it on the side of the. Go ahead.
People indulge in it. It's just so delicious. And then we also have our vanilla yogurt. So that's nationwide. And half and half. Our half and half is 16% milk fat. The normal standard for half and half is 14%. So we're putting more butterfat in that because we know the healthy CLAs and omegas are in that.
Yeah.
And this is a secret product. It's one that we are working on right now.
Oh, so we need to stay tuned and
Right.
subscribe to your newsletter and visit your website or follow you on Instagram.
Yes.
Find out.
You'll find out what that is.
Okay, awesome. So your website is alexandrefamilyfarm.com.
Yes.
Right.
And our social media handles are that as well, Alexandre Family Farm.
Okay, awesome.
And our phone number is on every product. So feel free to call our office and you'll get someone there.
That's so cool. Well, I can't wait to visit your farm one day. It sounds beautiful. And I can't wait to meet your family.
Thanks. Likewise. Yeah. Thank you so much for this interview opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you, Vanessa. You're beautiful.
Likewise. Well, my baby's crying now in the background.
Okay,
So
I'll let you go get her. Thank you so much.
thank you, Natalie.
Grateful you joined us for that conversation and interview. If you haven't subscribed to Heart and Soil magazine yet, head over to heartandsoilmagazine.com. Click on that subscribe button and join us for just $39.99 a year. You make yourself an amazing day, and I'm really grateful you're part of our community.